Dear students, in this online class, we are going to learn about communication. This communication is also one of the component comes under this directing. In this online class, we are going to learn meaning of communication, definition of communication, and process of communication. These three concepts we are going to learn in this online class. So, dear students, this communication plays an important role in the success of a manager. How much professional knowledge and intelligence a manager possesses becomes immaterial if he is not able to communicate properly or effectively with his subordinates and create understanding in them. The word communication has been derived from the Latin word communis, which means common, which consequently implies common understanding. So, what is communication? The meaning here given, here is the meaning. So, communication means what? In simple, communication means what? Sharing the ideas or the message sending from one person to another person. I mean, truly speaking, sharing of ideas or the information or feelings from one person to another person. That is what about communication. So, if you go through this meaning, communication is a process by which people create and share information with one another in order to reach common understanding. So, this communication makes clear ideas or clear cut ideas, which makes the clarity of duty, the clarity about the task, so that all people in accordance with that proper communication made by the organization, all the people who are going to perform properly. So, if there is a confuse, if there is a dilemma in communication, no doubt which creates a lot of problems in the organization. That is the reason why from time to time, whatever changes have been taken place or whatever ideas are there or whatever goals are there, these have been informed by the management to the subordinates to the employees, so that accordingly all people are going to follow up the action. Means in accordance with the order or the instruction received by the management, the employees are going to working properly. So that is why communication is very important, and that makes a significant role for any successful organization. That means the success of an organization is also depend upon proper communication. So it may be the upward communication or it may be the downward communication. So we have studied this in the first chapter, that is nature and the significance of the management, right? Downward communication and upward communication. So what is the downward communication? From top level to mid level and mid level to lower level, whatever information is sharing, that is downward communication. Then upward communication means what? From lower level to mid level and from mid level to top level, whatever information is sharing, that is what? Upward communication. So this is because of what? To reach common understanding. So what is going inside the department, what is going in the levels of the department, it should be communicated, it should be shared among the organization to make all people attentive or to follow the rules and regulations. So for that we need proper communication. So now we are going to study about communication definition. So according to Kunz and Weirich, the communication is a transfer of information from the sender to the receiver, with the information being understood by the receiver. So here we need to understand communication is a transfer of information. That means it is the process of transfer of information or the ideas from the sender, means from the communicator. Sender means the person who sends the information, right? That is what about sender. This person is also called what communicator. Now I am sending the information about communication to you, dear students. In this way I am the communicator or the sender of the information to the receiver. Receiver means the people who are going to receiving the information. So you are the students receiving information about the communication by me. So in this case I am the sender of the information, I am the communicator, and you are the receiver, means you are the communicatee. So this is because of what, with the view to the information being understood by the receiver. So when the receiver receives the information, it should be understood by him. That means the main purpose of the communicator should communicate properly. That means the according to the level of understanding of the receiver, he should communicate. That means whatever information sends by the sender, it should be understood, it should be followed by the receiver. That means receiver must able to understand that information. In that way the sender should send the message, or he should convey the message. That is what about communication definition given by Kunj and Weirich. Now we are going to study about elements of communication process. That means when we talk about communication process, the communication process includes all these elements. Without these elements, communication should not take properly. So if we want proper communication or effective communication, when we talk about communication concept, in the communication concept all these elements are there. These are the elements, or this is the process of communication. So which includes what? First one, sender. So sender means person who conveys his thoughts or ideas to the receiver. Sender means in simple words the person who sends the information or the message, to whom the sender is going to sending the information to the receiver of the communication. That means the sender going to represents sources of communication. So to whom he is going to sending? He is going to sending someone, maybe the lower level management. If the manager is going to send the message, it may be the lower level management, or it may be the top level management. So person who is going to sending the information, or a person who is going to sends the message. So such person is called what? Sender, or who is also called what? Communicator. The sender represents sources of communication. So when he is going to communicator, which represents or he represents the source of communication. The second process in the communication, that is a message. So message means what? Message means content of communication or the message. That means this includes ideas or the feelings or the suggestions or the instructions or the order, etc., which are to be intended to communicate it. That means the message means it is a subject matter. So when the sender sending the message, it has some subject, means there is a matter, so about which he is going to sending the information to the receiver. Now I am sending the message to you about communication. So the communication between teacher and students in this regard is about what, the communication. So that is. Next comes about encoding or encode. So encoding means coding of a message. That means converting the message into common symbols. So the sender is going to send the message, and that message is going to be converted by the sender into common symbols or the pictures or the gestures, because this is very important from the receiver point of view. So it is should be understood by the receiver. That is the reason why the sender is going to coding the message. It should be understood, it should be understandable to whom, to the receiver. For that purpose the sender is going to make some symbols, some pictures, some graphs. These will give clear ideas to the receiver. That is what about encoding. Next comes about media. Media means channel. That means medium through which message transmits. So when the message is going to send by the sender, he is going to adapt some media or some paths through which he is going to convey the message to the receiver, means to the communicatee. So how it is possible? It is possible by means of phone call, or it may be the through internet. He can use it. It may be the YouTube, it may be the Facebook, it may be the WhatsApp, Twitter, or it may be the classroom. These are what media of communication. Next comes about what, decoding. So what do you mean by decoding? Decoding of message. Decoding means decoding of message. That means the way of understanding of message by the receiver. That means when the sender send the message, and when that message is encoded by the sender, and when he is sending that message by using some media, that is going to now received by the receiver. Now those receiver are going to understanding in their own way. That means the process of converting encoded symbols of the sender. That is what about decoding. Next comes about receiver. Receiver means the person who receives the information from that of sender. That is what about receiver. So receiver means the person who receives the message from the sender. So when the sender send the message, that is going to received by some people, and those people who are going to receive the information, they are called what, receiver of the message or receiver of the information. And these receivers are also called what, communicatee. They are receiving the information, means they have received information from the sender, means communicator. That is what about receiver. Next, feedback. So feedback means it is the reply from the receiver. When the receiver received the information, or when he gets the information or instructions from the sender, now the time to receiver to give the reply. He should give the response to whom? To the sender. That is what about feedback. So feedback means what? The reply from the receiver to the sender. Now the reply receiver should give feedback or response to the sender. That is. Next comes about noise. Noise means some abstractions or some disturbance to communication. For example, poor telephone connection, or it may be the network coverage problem. Next, an inattentive of the receiver, or the perception of the receiver. These are what some of the reasons which comes under in this noise. That means these are what some hindrance to make effective communication. That means the noise makes disturbance for effective communication. It may be the poor telephone connection, it may be the poor network problem, network. Next, inattentiveness or lack of attentiveness of the receiver. So if the receiver not give the interest, then it is what it is not interested or inattentive of the receiver. So this is what about the process of communication, or technically called as what elements of communication process. When we talk about elements of communication process, this elements of communication process includes these aspects. One, there should be the sender of the message, there should be the message, sender should send the message, and that message should be encoded by the sender through some symbols or pictures or any gestures. Then it should be transmitted through some media or some channels. Then there should be the decoding. Then there should be the receiver of the communication. Then there should be the feedback from the receiver of the communication. Then noise. So these are what these are the elements of communication process. Thank you.